It's time to go over weeks 3 and 4 of the Sophisticated Declutter, and if you are new here, make sure you start with what the Sophisticated Declutter is. I have a video on that as well as what we did in weeks 1 and 2. But if you're here with me on weeks 3 and 4, today is going to be a recap just like I did for weeks 1 and 2, where we're just going to go over what you can expect over these next 2 weeks at a really high level. Always make sure you're following me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel, my newsletter. If you want even more content and more in-depth guidance, I do have an ebook that you can download from my website, so I will link all of that. But without any further ado, let's talk about what else we're doing in our kitchen in week 3. Week 3 is focused on dishes, pots, and pans, which kind of does encompass a lot of things within those broader categories. So dishes is going to include your everyday dishes, as well as whether you have fine china, serving dishes, your flatware or silverware, your serving utensils, cups, mugs, all of that, anything that falls within that category. And then pots and pans is pretty self-explanatory. So there's a couple of different mindsets that you might want to implement as you're going through your kitchen and going through especially the dishes portion of this, which is going to be, is this an everyday item or is it more of something that I'm having for when I have guests over? Talking about everyday items, you want to make sure it's something that you're actually using every day, or at least on some sort of a frequent basis. If it's an everyday item and it's not being used, that would be a great sign to declutter it. Whereas you can't necessarily use that same mentality if you're talking about dishes that you have if you're having a dinner party, because you're not hosting those every day, every week, or even every month. So that's why I like to be able to shift my mindset depending on what category of items that I'm going through and decluttering. There's no hard and fast rule for how many of each item you should have. I don't like doing that in any area of the home, just because it really depends on you. If you are a single person living alone versus a family of 10, you're gonna need a different amount of dishes. A better way to look at it is probably just analyzing how your kitchen flows, what your lifestyle looks like, and how many dishes you have left in your cabinet when your dishwasher is full. Do you have a ton of backstock in there even when you have a sink full of dishes? Or are you finding that you're running out and having to hand wash dishes just to make sure you have enough to eat off of? Then you might actually need more of something. I find that most people don't need to do a ton of decluttering when it comes to plates and bowls, as well as your daily flatware, as opposed to cups, where people tend to kind of hoard cups. I don't know what it is about cups, especially mugs. It oftentimes becomes more of a collection. I went the opposite direction and just streamlined everything. I went to just basic cups, a highball and a lowball, as well as white mugs, and a few other pieces that coordinate with it for our daily glassware. But beyond that, I've gotten rid of all of the mugs that have different sayings over them, which can be difficult. Number one, because you could love all of those fun, colorful mugs and that could be more of your style. Or oftentimes, people get mugs specifically as gifts all the time, and it often makes us guilty throwing away things that we got as gifts or donating things that we got as gifts. But I would really take a critical look at your cup and mug collection and figure out if it's something that you actually enjoy, or is this the time that you feel like you can finally get rid of all of those cups and mugs that you're not using. For this week, it's also going to be important to look at your kitchen decluttering with an eye towards what do you do in your kitchen? Are you somebody that's cooking on a daily basis? You cook dinner at home every single night? Do you do takeout more often? Are you doing a lot of entertaining? Are you not? For more formal and serving dishes, it is nicer to have a set of things that if you're going to have company or host an event or a dinner party, that you have something that's a little bit nicer to put on the table. I actually opted out of doing fine china for my wedding. I think a lot of people who are getting married these days are moving away from fine china. I know they're passed down through families, but just the way things are moving in general across all aspects of our lives, things are more casual than they used to be. So I don't think it's necessary to go all out and have the most exquisite set of fine china for hosting an event. You can always just use your regular daily dishware if you have a large enough set. That could be one consideration, is that if you have a smaller family, that you might want to have a little bit more of something just in case you have more people over. But there's a caveat with that just in case that I'm saying. If it truly is a just in case and you're never actually going to host something, you're not the type of person that likes to host events and you can never foresee yourself hosting anything, this probably doesn't apply to you. But if you do like hosting events and you do host them every now and then, feel free to keep those items that you like to have for hosting, but keep it realistic depending on how often you host and how many people you're going to be hosting at a time. Again, also in this week, we're going to be decluttering our pots and pans. I will leave a list on the screen here of some of the key staple pots and pans that you need to have or should have on hand in your kitchen. Go through and see if you have any duplicates. It's nice to have pans and pots that are multifunctional. I like the set from Caraway if you're looking for one basic pot and pan set that's perfectly organized and just kind of one of everything you need, and you're looking to upgrade and you don't want a bunch of unnecessary clutter. That would be great to just get one easy set. If you're building your own, that's great too. I kind of have mix match stuff. I do have some stainless steel. I have a non-stick. I have a cast iron. I have a Dutch oven, some ceramic coated. So I have a little bit of everything, which I like depending on the type of cooking that I'm doing. And I do a ton of cooking. It's one of my passions. So these pots and pans do get lots of use and love. But same thing I keep harping on, if you are not a cook, you don't love cooking, you're not using them, really pare it down to the bare minimum just so you can cook what you need to cook and what you are cooking. And if you have a giant roasting pan that you've never ever used, you can probably go ahead and get rid of it. Week 4 is really fun because it's going to be appliances and gadgets, and those are two different extremes in my mind in the kitchen. Oftentimes gadgets are a bunch of small little tchotchke type items that end up taking a lot of space in your kitchen versus appliances, which are typically less and they're big and bulky and take up a lot of space in your kitchen that way. So it's kind of fun to be decluttering both of those in the same week. For gadgets, we really need to look at what we're actually using and what's necessary. Sometimes gadgets do make things easier. I just discovered having one of those veggie choppers. Oh my gosh, I have no idea how I didn't have one of those before. It makes my life so much easier when I'm chopping veggies for recipes. But there could be tools on the other hand that I've gotten before, like an avocado slicer. A knife does the exact same thing. Yes, a knife does the exact same thing for a veggie chopper, but the veggie chopper, it does save me a ton of time and I'm finding myself using it all the time versus an avocado slicer. I personally just feel like it's pretty easy to swoop around the avocado, give it 4 or 5 slices and have the exact same thing in not much more time. So it really is a balance of looking at how often you're using it, how much time is it saving you, are you actually using it, and a few other questions I have listed here on the screen. That list will help you work through your gadgets, and I'm sure there are some things in your kitchen that fall under this category that you're gonna be able to get rid of, are probably kind of junky and going to free up a lot of space in your kitchen. Appliances can be tough. There are some staples that you're going to want to probably have on hand, like a toaster. Is it a toaster or a toaster oven? Do you have both a toaster and a toaster oven? Can you combine those into one and maybe just keep your toaster oven and get rid of your toaster? Find things that are multifunctional. That's one of my favorite ways to get rid of appliances. And that might mean that you have to invest in something new, but possibly you could get rid of 2, 3, 4 appliances and replace it with one. In my opinion, that would be worth it. And I completely understand if that's not in your budget right now to be replacing appliances, but maybe put it as a part of the long-term plan. And though you might not be able to declutter those items during week 4, you can have it on your long-term plan that you want to, and you found whatever item you want to replace it with, and then you can eventually get rid of the other appliances that are taking up so much space. Though I use the toaster as an example of something that most of us like to have in our kitchens, there are other things that aren't necessary, and oftentimes there are trendy appliances. We just got done with the holidays and Black Friday, and you may have purchased some of those appliances for yourself or gotten them as gifts. How many of you have an air fryer that you've purchased that you never use, that just sits there? I actually do use mine, but some appliances I've gotten in the past, like I used to have one of those SodaStream soda makers. There was a novelty about it at first, and then I completely stopped using it. So think about whether you're actually using these appliances or not. That is it for weeks 3 and weeks 4. At the end of week 4, you should be completely done decluttering your kitchen. So if there's any area we didn't cover in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, make sure you're getting it done. And again, make sure you're following me on Instagram for more daily tips and tricks. And until next time, I will see you all later.